This podcast is part of the Treksphere Network.
To find more Star Trek-related content, visit Treksphere.com.
The last one, I think the last one where you were doing the intro, it sounded like you were being made to do this at gunpoint.
As you know, this is the measure of an episode where it is our continuing mission.
I'm Jonathan.
Just the whole time.
This week, we watched.
The blurb says.
Like we never get a hold of ourselves either. We're just always hysterical.
Just sobbing through the whole thing. All right. Let's see what we're watching next.
Well, no, it's just like when the Andorians came into the room and the Vulcans.
Oh. Did you notice?
Oh, God, it would be like 5 hours long episode at that point.
Right. I have to listen to it at like 2 times speed.
And what's the outcome of the people holding the guns? Like, what are they after?
Right. We never find out, Paul. That's the problem.
That's the problem, yeah. All right. As you know, this is the measure of an episode where it is our continuing mission to explore what makes a genuine Star Trek episode, and not just, no, I messed that up. I skipped a whole part.
And not just a Star Trek episode.
But you know the tune. I'm Paul.
And I'm Jonathan, and this week we watched the Andorian Incident, which is an Enterprise episode. It was Season 1, Episode 7? Is that right?
6.
Season 1, Episode 6. And the blurb from Hulu...
Wait.
What?
How do we know if a Star Trek episode is a proper Star Trek episode?
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Nobody knows that.
Right, we're skipping over everything. We do it with 3
They
criteria.
know the intro, but they don't know the criteria.
Right.
So give them the criteria.
The first thing is there sci-fi in the plot? It's required to be there. You can't just you can't take the sci-fi out and have the plot still work. The second part is that sci-fi presented in a unique or novel way? And the third thing is there a moral or ethical dilemma that any character has to face? Still Jonathan.
And I'm still Paul. And this week, oh, it's my, I see.
Right.
We watched Enterprise Season 1, Episode 6, The Andorian Incident. And the blurb says, Jonathan, because I forgot to write it down in my notes.
Oh, but you got to remember where there's 2 different ones, and we got to see which one is more accurate. Archer, Trip, and T'Pol make first contact with the suspicious and militaristic Andorians while helping to reveal the secrets within the ancient Vulcan monastery of P'Jem. And yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. What's the other one?
Whereas the Prime one said, when visiting an ancient Vulcan spiritual temple, the crew of the Enterprise discovers that the monastery has been overthrown by Andorians, an alien race with a history of fighting with Vulcans.
See, that would have been the better plot line had we not known that the monastery had already been taken over by the Andorians. It would have been an interesting surprise. But we already knew that.
Right.
So, I don't know, it was just... that's kind of my complaint about this whole episode. Is nothing interesting happened. Except the end. The end was interesting.
Yeah, where it was finally revealed. Yeah, like it just seemed like they were... I mean, spoiler, I guess. But they were trying to just escape and get out of there. And then it turns out that the Andorians were right all along.
Right. Instead, the whole episode opens with like this weird Vulcan spa beauty shots with like the massage music going with like that weird generic wooden flute sound going. But I will say, could this be the shortest intro or cold open? Because I know you said that the one with the doctor in Voyager, where he's like trapped by himself on Voyager that we've already watched at some point in the past 89 episodes.
Right.
But you said that one was the shortest. This one must be pretty short too, right?
Yeah, no, we haven't hit the shortest episode yet. I don't remember which one it is. But yeah, yes, this one was very short, but there was still more setup than the shortest one has. I don't remember.
Yeah, so then we see the Andorians. They come in, and they're up to no good, Clearly. And I think this is the first time we're introduced to Wei Yun, or also known as Jeffrey Combs, as the Andorian guy.
Shran. Yeah. And then there's his children, which is Shran Legacy.
Really?
No, it's play on Tron.
Oh. Look, I have a cold, dude. It's not fair. You can't make jokes that have multiple steps of thought process.
Right. You're like,
especially about a movie that nobody cared about.
Well, Disney clearly did, because they keep trying to throw Tron at us.
I know.
But,
I know.
You know, there's like the 7 people who care and are so vocal on the internet.
The score was great. The what? What about the movie? Anyway, so this whole show, when we finally get up to Enterprise, I was like, it's the shortest intro, and like we finally get up to Enterprise. After 15 seconds, we're finally up there.
Man, now the story can start. Seriously.
Yeah. Oh, but wait, does it start? We don't know. Because they're, I think, once again sitting down at a meal.
No.
They're talking about how the Vulcans, like their
star charts
files
are wrong. Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, I kind of forgot that this was episode 6 of season 1, and they kind of were going through their motions a little bit. I was like, why is the acting so stilted right now?
Yeah.
T'Pol was just a sleep. She was a nap worth of a character. And Archer is like super folksy.
Yeah.
If that's even possible. Like, he was more folksy than he normally is.
Well,
he's
see,
like oh boy.
I actually enjoyed T'Pol in this episode, because based on what we've seen her become, like, it genuinely seemed like she was hiding her disgust on this ship, you know, and they revealed why she was so disgusted was because she has to live with this smell all the time.
Yeah. But they super abandoned the smell thing. They never, I mean, in the later seasons, they've never talked about it ever again.
No, there were a couple of sides to it, but it's not a plot point by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, yeah, I mean, they talk about it like 4 or 5 times throughout the course of this episode.
Right. And with no payoff either. Like, there's no reason for it.
Yeah.
It's not like there's no Chekhov's gun to that at all. It's just humans smell. Yeah, they do.
Right. She never says what they smell like. Like, what do we smell like?
Right.
And we all smell the same?
Well, and I also like that Archer, you know, later on in the episode, she's like, I would rather be cold than be close to the smell. And he's like, oh, just get in the blanket with me. Oh, boy. And sorry, that makes it sound a lot creepier. That was supposed to be my...
Oh, boy.
Get in the blanket. Oh, boy.
And he keeps his arm like where her head should go, and she doesn't lay her head down.
Right.
She's like, oh, I should start another conversation immediately.
Yeah, but it was very much for me, like the closest analogy that I can think of is, you know, somebody saying I had COVID and I lost my sense of smell. And they're like, well, but just smell how good this is. Just smell it.
Yeah. And I think actually, apropos, Trip has a cold. He seems like he has a cold in this episode. Just like kind of getting over it like the last day, you know?
Right.
I don't know if that's just because we should watch the first episode just to make sure that that's not just how we talk. He did not seem as good old boy in this. He seemed like he was a little bit more rough around the edges as a character.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and he seemed a lot more accepting of the cultures rather than being totally weirded out by everything that was happening, as that happens later in the seasons.
Oh, I thought you meant like as opposed to the Southern bigot he normally is.
Right. Just so, I mean, yeah, Southern bigot, but like also just so bent on that's not how we do it, therefore you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, just sort of absolute judgment.
Yeah.
Of anything that differs from his upbringing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, and so then we get the lowdown on this from T'Pol, the lowdown on this monastery place where people go. It's like a spa, basically, Vulcan spa where they can meditate in perpetuity.
Right.
And she gives us sort of how you're supposed to don't touch them, don't, wait for them to do this, wait 5 seconds. And one thing I noticed about Vulcans and kind of all aliens in Star Trek, for that matter, they all kind of have this absolute continuity of culture where all Vulcans seem to know all the intricacies of all of Vulcan culture.
Yes.
Meaning, like, if we were to be just dropped off somewhere in the middle of Asia, we would probably not know what the hell was going on, right?
Right. I mean, we might see like the good luck kitty, or we might see like a Buddha temple or a Buddha statue or something like that. But we would not be able to go into detail on every little thing that's there.
Right. We wouldn't be able to give you the contact protocols of everything that's supposed to happen as though we do it ourselves. Right. But it seems like all aliens don't have that in Star Trek. They're from the same exact culture. Yeah. And they all know what you're supposed to do. Even in Next Gen, it goes all through the series where every alien you meet knows how these people they don't know are going to act.
Right.
Yeah.
And it would be that can actually be a really strong plot point. Obviously, you can't use it every episode, but for somebody to be like, I don't know what this does. I don't know what this is. And like that actually moves the plot forward.
Yeah. Yeah. But it doesn't.
No.
But they didn't do that.
But they didn't do that ever. Or also, like, just whenever they talk about this stuff, have them holding a tricorder or a pad or something. Like, or even like clicking their communicator and just letting the computer tell them what they need to know. Like, you do not
That
have
would be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to have a scientist or, have everybody be a scientist who knows everything about the culture.
Right.
Not everyone is an anthropologist.
Well, yeah, except Picard.
Right.
Yeah, not everyone is going to have this information, so it could be fun to discover it over the course of a plot. Kind of like they did in, what's the one where they speak in metaphor? Dartmok?
Yeah.
Darmok?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra.
Yeah. And like that's what made that episode interesting, is the discovery of the culture, not just that it was de facto, we know about it already.
Right.
So anyway, then we finally get down to the planet, and we know what's going to happen because we know the Andorians are already there. And we know, how much better would it have been if T'Pol becomes suspicious, but we don't know the Andorians are there. And they happen upon, and they just see this blue guy hiding in the corner. And like, what's going on? Is this part of it? Is this the Vulcan's pet?
Well, yeah, like it would have been great if they knew something was wrong, and they turn the corner, and there's just an Andorian holding them at gunpoint.
And he sees it. He's like, shh. He got caught. Doesn't want the other Andorians to know he got caught. He's just going to try and just stretch this out as much as he possibly can.
Well, I was just thinking, so the Andorian is holding, Trip turns around the corner. And so he turns back to Archer, and it's like, Commander, have you ever been to the Tibetan temples? Why are you crying, Trip? I keep wanting to make him George W. Bush. Like, Will Ferrell's version of George W. Bush. That's what keeps coming out when I try to do his impression.
Well, he's a Texas guy.
So I don't know where it happens, but there is a tapestry in one of the hallways that is used twice. It was used twice before. Chronologically, it will be used twice later. But the first one is in the Voyager episode. Is that right? No, sorry. It was in the Enterprise episode, Stigma, which we've watched. And it was in the TNG episode, Devil's Due.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Again. Because we're getting into the higher numbers of episodes. Like, we are bound to hit props that have been used in episodes that we've watched. So,
I guess that's true. Yeah. But we just watched them. I guess we didn't watch Stigma that much longer.
No, Stigma was episode 7. That was a while ago.
When you said that we'd watched it before, I was like, have we? Okay. I'll take
I know.
for it.
I know. Well, yeah, that's actually genuinely how I was feeling about it. I was like, did we watch that before? It sounds really familiar.
Yeah. They all kind of sound equally familiar and unfamiliar at this point.
At this point, yeah. Also, quick side note, has nothing to do with the plot at all, but this episode was directed by Roxanne Dawson. Did you see that?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Directed by B'Elanna. So, I thought that was kind of cool.
Who I think is a director now.
Oh, just in general?
I don't think she acts. Yeah, I don't think she acts.
Yeah, I don't think she acts at all, but I didn't know she went behind the camera. That's cool. Good to know.
So we get down there, and I felt like their introduction of this monastery, and therefore the Vulcan cultural aspect of it all, could have been so much more interesting. It just felt very uncreative the way that they did this stuff. They could have had a lot of weird hoops they had to jump through to get through the door, and that could have been part of it. I mean, I know that it's not going to be, Nickelodeon Funhouse, but no, what was it called? Nickelodeon, where they had to go through all the obstacle courses or they got slimed.
Double Dare?
Funhouse? Double Dare.
Okay.
Not that, but something where it just wasn't them walking through a door.
Right.
I just felt like it's just very uncreative introduction of this. It could have been better.
Yeah.
Could have been a little bit better. And I understand it's season one,
yeah.
episode 6. But I don't know, that's when they had all the money and all the hype behind them. You might as well play off of that.
Yeah, I mean the temple itself was pretty intricate, and there was that like sliding door in their chamber room that they kept sneaking into, and I don't remember the catacombs ever being used before or after. But you're right, to just have it be an open hall with a receptionist with like the mild Chinese folding door or the Chinese folding wall that is between them and the Andorian, like it was very Earth spa like.
Totally.
Yeah.
I would love to go there.
I don't know if you can hear that or not, but just to clarify, like, okay, they're gone now. Never mind. There were there's sirens on my side, and like they were getting louder, and so I was going to say like they're coming up, but you might not hear.
I thought like a resident animal who lived in your garage. They're just coming back from groceries, getting groceries, and they're gone.
No, just a resident animal. I'm like, okay, hang on. I can't talk or move for a second. Hold on. Shit, it saw me.
I like that we don't reveal what kind of animal, too.
Right. This is like the Blair Witch of podcast episodes.
Don't move.
I want to say I'm sorry to my mom. And to Mike's mom.
Oh, shit, he dropped a carrot. He's going to go back for it.
He's still got the groceries?
Yeah. Then you come back and then you're fine. It's like the danger is over once they go back into their little house.
Right. Anyway, yeah, it seemed like a spa.
Yeah, and then they get taken prisoner by the Andorians, and it seemed like overkill the way they tried to take control of the guy hiding behind the screen door thing. But anyway, they get taken control, and they get called.
I did genuinely like that it was kind of done in slow motion, or it was shown at different angles over the same thing. And the end result was that all of them were like just fumbling on the ground. The only plan was to knock the whole thing over onto him, and it busted as it went, and they had no follow-up other than to like just knock it over on him.
There's 2 of them, and the Andorians seem to be more slight than humans. It was Archer and Trip who dive on this guy, and they don't even take his gun away. Right. They start beating him up, but he's still holding his plastic gun.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a pretty like pathetic display of strategery
yes.
for these people who have been trained to go into space and meet new civilizations. They're really bad at disarming and disabling people.
Uh-huh.
So they get put in this Vulcan holding cell.
Right.
And all the Vulcans are still there. And the Andorians call the humans pinkskins, which you get the impression it's supposed to be kind of a not nice thing to say to them. But the Vulcans are not called pinkskins.
I was going to say, yeah, but all the rest of the aliens around them are also pinkskins. Maybe it's just what they call everybody. Like you're either Andorian or pinkskin or brownskin if you're that's a little
But
racist.
Yeah, but they have the same exact complexion as humans. Vulcans do.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Andorians call everybody
just everybody
white person pink skin. Well, because I mean, if they run into Klingons, they wouldn't call them pink skins. They'd call them bumpy ridges, brown skin. That's where the brown skin was coming from.
They just pick the most obvious thing, and it becomes a thing.
So maybe it is pointy ears.
Bully,
right? Yeah. And since we have no feature that is overly different from theirs, they just have to call us pink skin.
I want to know. They almost got into it with the Andorians. What their antennae do? What sort of sensory perception they give them? They said, and I think Trip said something about. Of course, it was Trip,
right?
The bigoted Texan. He said something about their antenna, and I want to know. Do they provide some kind of extrasensory, not like telepathy, but just
Right.
some
Yeah.
sort of extra thing.
Yeah.
But they've never gone into it.
No.
But I love that they moved the first time. I was expecting that feature of their anatomy, the fact that they kind of move on screen, to be something that they just like developed
over
later
time.
in the show. Yeah. But they moved. I was so happy to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I was trying to watch to see if there was any indication as to what it meant. And what I noticed was when the Andorians got angry, the antennas bent back, or when they kind of got into like an aggressive mode, the antennas went back. And
cool.
I would imagine that is a defense mechanism of when I'm going to fight, I need to keep my antennas back so they don't get damaged.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't get lopped off.
Yeah.
I also like the idea. So there's the kind of extra rapey Andorian. But I like the idea that their antenna kind of rub together, like you're doing this with your hands.
Oh, I
when they get
missed
horny.
that.
No, they don't. But
Oh,
they should.
okay. Yeah, I was actually I was watching for antenna to actually like touch each other, but yeah, I missed it. So I was sad that you said that. No, I feel better knowing that didn't happen.
Well, I'm sure it would cause some sort of weird internal feedback loop if they touched each other.
I do need to tell you, so this is the level that we are not. This is one of the facts about this episode that is just. It's impressive, but it's also far beyond the nerdiness that you and I hold.
Okay. Let's have it.
So the definition of warp factor doesn't work in this episode because the star of the monastery circles is an actual known star that lies at a known distance from Earth. If the Enterprise, with its maximum warp of 5.1, headed for it upon leaving Earth in the first episode, it could have just made the trip, which leaves 0 time for the various other Johnson time spent in the preceding 5 episodes. So warp speed needs to be faster based on what happened in the previous 5 episodes.
Somebody figured that. So there's a defined speed for what warp factor is somewhere?
I mean, obviously, in
the show?
Right. Obviously, in the original series, warp was whatever it needed to be. By Enterprise, they had already calculated through other episodes and through just various things through the show what warp speed was. Having said that, there are many episodes where warp speed is what the episode required it to be.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we have to stop doing the show now since you found that.
Right, this is the first episode
that's
had such a glaring flaw. It's ruined Star Trek for us. Can't do it anymore. It's like the last episode of How I Met Your Mother. Never want to go back to any of the other shows.
Totally.
Or Lost. But even Lost, you crapped out early on. Yeah. What?
No, I watched the whole thing. I just watched it. I was hate watching it.
Right. Okay. Sorry. So yeah, you got to the point where you knew you were going to be disappointed by the end. For me personally, with How I Met Your Mother, it was the last episode for both of them. Actually, for Lost, it was the second to last episode. But yeah.
Yeah, I knew the whole time. Well, no, I kind of had that glimmer of hope.
Yeah, but yours was so cynical. You were like, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, and it's great. But it won't be.
Well, I'm never wrong about these things. I was right about that. I was right about How I Met Your Mother, too.
But you said that Robin was the mom, and she was not the mom.
Well, she ultimately was. I'm half right.
I mean, you were right that it was always about Robin. And she was going to be the one that he married in the end, which is what happened.
I will say, though, they did a great job with the actual mother at the first episode of the last season by ingratiating us to her.
Yes.
The casting, writing, I was on board.
Right.
This should be Ted's, not mom. This should be the mom.
Yeah.
Ted's wife.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And
can we say...
That's why this episode kills Star Trek for us.
So we get to the part where they find out there's a hidden, a hidden doorway where they just turn a thing and it goes back. Seems like that should show up on some scans.
Well, I mean, I got that it didn't show up on the scans just because it was so deep within the catacombs. But what I didn't like was how weakly the door was hidden.
But why weren't they all hiding in there? If they couldn't detect it, why didn't they all just go in there and wait it out?
See, and I think that would have opened up all of the implications that there were secret places to hide, and that means the Andorians would have just been more aggressive in their searches than they already were.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like this episode, just nothing happened. There was nothing interesting about this episode.
Just until the end.
Until the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally the last 30 seconds of the show.
Yeah. There should have been something more to this episode to fill in the 45 minutes, because I really don't think that reveal could have happened any earlier, especially with how it was handled at the end. You know, they're all fighting, and then Archer just gets all the pictures and then gives them to the Andorians, you know, and he's like, here's your evidence. And this is I'm so conflicted about that, because I completely agree that Archer is saying, you know, don't sit there and tell them that there isn't one when there is. That's not right. But he also just jumped into this argument. And so he has no idea what's led up to this other than what the Vulcans have told him.
Well, it was the Vulcans, regardless of the humans' pact or agreement with the Vulcans, of which I don't really know at this point. Maybe they go into it in earlier episodes, but what their operating agreement is. Because obviously the Vulcans know more about space and the races who inhabit it than the humans do. They kind of imply that with this episode, that you're supposed to, like in the Phlox conversation, which I loved, by the way. By the way, everybody is kind of stilted in their character acting, except for Phlox. Mm-hmm. He's the stalwart of character integrity. He had that guy going episode 1, and never changed.
Yep,
it was great. But they imply that the Vulcans are letting humans experience and discover space without them telling them about it, to a certain extent.
Right.
So I don't know what that agreement actually is, the intricacies of it, but I did like that it, even though the Andorians were being violent and a-holes, that they made an agreement with these people. They had a treaty, and they were being disingenuous and cagey about this super huge underground research, I don't know, antenna. I don't know. Whatever it was. I don't know why they needed this gigantic room, but I don't know, it was like super shady on the Vulcans' part.
Yeah.
And it's kind of unclear that if T'Pol knew about it.
I assume that she didn't. She seemed, I mean, again, and Jillian Blaylock is probably one of the better Vulcans, having to rewatch this stuff. I did not like her when she was first when she was the first Vulcan. When the episodes were first on. But watching it again, I've come to really appreciate her Vulcan demeanor, because it did look, I mean, she was angry at Archer for questioning her loyalty, and she seemed to be genuinely upset that the Vulcans had lied.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of felt very Romulan-esque. Felt like, oh, this feels like you guys feel like Romulans right now.
Yeah.
Not Vulcans.
With the deception. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they were being a-holes.
They were.
And so that's why Archer did that. Probably should not have stepped in between. We're getting into some, not first contact, what's it called? Prime Directive? The Prime Directive. There we go.
But Prime Directive basically only falls about pre-warp culture.
Right, but this whole idea of don't mess in other people's business. Like, this is not the humans' business. They only just learned about it a day ago.
Right.
I understand he should be a little bit more reticent other than just starting to favor people. But he was pissed. He was super pissed.
Yeah. I mean, he's already got a chip on his shoulder against the Vulcans anyway. And so to find out that this just kind of supports his theory that the Vulcans are hiding things in general. And for it to be this blatant, both in what they were hiding and the fact that they were hiding, I think was just a breaking point for him as far as, I mean, obviously it was the heat of the moment, but he genuinely was like, here's all the information you need. I'm out. And
I know we're never going to know this, but I am truly intrigued as to the origins and intent behind this facility.
Right.
I want to know, is this part of the Vulcan government or whatever, or are these like a faction, an extremist faction?
I mean, given how big it was, it had to have been from the Vulcan embassy, whatever that is.
I don't know, we kind of already got to the end. And this to me is not a Star Trek. Oh, no, there's something else I want to talk about.
Okay.
So I was wondering, when Archer asks, they've been held hostage for a while. He brings the guy in. He brings Wei Yun in. Wei Blue?
Nice.
Trying to make it work. Doesn't work.
Right.
Doesn't really work.
Right.
And he says, I need to talk to you right away. I have information for you. They take him in, and he starts kind of hamming it up. And, he's asking for an ass whooping, I guess, because he knows it's coming.
Yep.
And he makes his way over, and he throws something into, like, the giant face in whatever room the Andorians are camped out in.
Right.
I'm like, ooh, what's happening? What's going on? What has he now planted? Is it a bomb?
Right.
Is it a small human? I don't know. But this is something. Finally, something is happening.
You put your phone down and
in
started
the show.
watching?
Yeah, exactly. I took it off 5.5 speed. And it's like, oh, maybe something will happen now. And so then they get back in there, and Trip comes out like they put Archer. He's beaten back into the holding cell.
Right.
And then Trip comes back in and gets the little figurine.
Yeah.
He's like, I know where they are now. And we found them. All right. I was like, that was the plan? This whole 10-minute sequence was like, oh, we now know where the giant thing is? It's like, you couldn't just go exploring and look through the slit holes of the eyeballs and see that's where the Andorians were?
So, I mean, kind of, yeah. So they were told that they weren't allowed to go down that hallway, but also I think that just the editing revealed it to us sooner than it was intended. Like, they should not have had those 3 lights fade to the face in the front.
I don't know. It seemed like a lot of business to say, like, oh yeah, that's definitely the place where the Andorians are, when they could have just peered through the holes and looked like they do later.
Well, right, but they didn't do that because they didn't know that's where the lights were, and they were told not to go down that hallway.
But then why did they go down the hallway? How did Trip get down the hallway then?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
To get the figurine.
Right.
They had to go down the hallway no matter what. So this whole, like, I don't know, it was just lazy.
Yeah. No, I don't think it was lazy. I think it was more of just, again, we were told it before the characters knew because of that fade. Like, if it had just been a hard cut and then we saw all this happening, then it could have been like, oh, they figured out that those lights were from the face. Okay, got it. But we already knew that beforehand. There was so much focus on that face.
Yes, they did a lot of face stuff.
Yeah.
Like, from the very beginning. And I thought it was going to be something interesting that happened.
I thought it was going to be the door to the sensor array.
Right. Yeah.
So, but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
But so that was a bit of a twist. Like, I assumed so because of how much they were focusing on it, but then it just turned out to just be the place where they could spy on them.
Right. So we get to the end of the episode, and the Enterprise crew storms the Andorian encampment inside of the Vulcan Center for Wellness, and it just felt super, like, as badass as what's his name is supposed to be, the security officer,
Malcolm Reed.
It did not. It felt like a massive fuck up, right? People get shot. Like, they're supposed to be the equivalent of Marines, right? Where they go in, they're super surgical, they know exactly what to do. And I don't feel like the Andorians aren't that big of a threat. They're just sort of grunts with guns,
right?
And they just feel, they're not threatening. The Andorians really aren't that super threatening, I think, because they're shorter. And also the Vulcans, they're super strong. They should have been able, there's only 4 Andorians. I feel like the Vulcans should have some sort of edge on disabling these 4 guys.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. Just the fight in general, it just seemed weird that the Andorians had their guns on stun. Like, when that Starfleet officer got shot, I immediately believed that he was dead until he started to sit up again. And he's like, no,
well, they're wearing a phaser-proof vest.
Right. You were just saying they are the Marines. Yeah, so that totally makes sense.
I mean, it would seem silly that they would just go in with the only thing protecting them from an obvious gunfight is some cloth.
Right.
They would have something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they've got to, because that's a thing that showed up in the past and never showed up again.
Well, if they can make it up, I can. They're just making stuff up.
Right. But yeah, there was so much missing in this on both sides. And they're just destroying all the Vulcan artifacts.
Yeah, it did feel very like it was a Naked Gun episode at that point. You have to make sure you do not. These artifacts are 10,000 years old.
Right.
They cannot be destroyed. We are psychically linked to them. If they go, we go. They give no consideration to these things. They're just shooting.
Yeah. I was expecting the Vulcan who was watching. I mean, it's kind of sad that it was a Vulcan who's emotionless, but maybe just to stand there and have like a single tear roll down as he's watching all of these artifacts be destroyed.
Well, and we know that they're all props because there's the facility on the other side of the door. But I like the idea that they bring the Vulcan down with them. And since he has previously stated that they are psychically linked, and if one of these artifacts goes, that they go. So when one of them gets destroyed, everybody turns to the Vulcan to see if anything happens, and he realizes that he has to start now play acting as though he's being
Right.
vanquished.
Yeah. Oh, I figured each prop was a Vulcan, and so every time one broke, they looked at him to see if he was the one who died.
Nope, that was Jerry. Jerry's dead now.
Gerald.
It'd be like G, comma, RRY.
Oh, okay.
Jerry.
Jerry? Yeah. Jerry.
Yeah. Anyway, it just felt like nothing happened in this episode. I do not believe this is a Star Trek episode of genuinity.
Okay. So
the
right,
ethical
well,
thing is there.
yeah,
I think.
Yeah. But yeah,
But
no,
nothing.
I'll concede.
Why did you have?
I felt like it. No, I felt like it was, but I couldn't place where the sci-fi was. So I was hoping that you would come saying it was, because I this was a slow episode and it was a slow burn episode, and I feel like the editing kind of gave away more than it should have. But I liked the episode. So I liked it enough to kind of hope that it would be a proper Star Trek. But I was thinking about it last night and this morning, and I couldn't figure out what made it a proper Star Trek episode, like where the sci-fi was. And so I was hoping you could bring it to the table, but nope.
I got nothing
Yeah,
on that one.
I couldn't find it, and you're saying it's not, so it's not.
I kind of felt like I liked the episode almost only for the potential of I thought the Andorians were cool. Finally, we get to see some sort of expression of the Andorians that's not just, oh, they're blue.
Right.
And they have antenna. And I liked the mystique behind the Vulcan monks.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted there to be more about that. I wanted to get a little bit more insight to the crazy Vulcans who just meditate 24 hours a day, 37 hours a day.
24 human hours.
Yeah. But nothing happened. Like, we didn't get any of that, but I liked I guess I liked the setting. The setting was neat for me.
Yeah, the setting was neat. I definitely liked T'Pol in this episode. This episode was very much kind of a reflective realization. Like, just thinking back on the episodes we've watched and seeing this first season episode, it made me feel more impressed by her take on Vulcans than I originally thought. I just thought that she was a bad actress, which playing Vulcan is very difficult to do because you kind of have to be cardboard if you are straight Vulcan.
See, I disagree with that though, because I think that if we're taking Leonard Nimoy's,
we can't. That's the problem, because he's half human.
Right, but he was mostly Vulcan in his expression. Right? They would normally he was not being a Vulcan / human. Like, there was not half and half in terms of, oh, this is the human side talking, this is the Vulcan side talking. He was always pushing away his human side.
Right.
He was pretending it didn't exist. And so I think if we're taking that, I think the expression of a Vulcan would be more, I guess, contempt and arrogance. And it kind of plays that way with Spock, and I think Tuvok does a little bit of that as well, where he's kind of better than everything. There's that kind of de facto arrogance. But she was playing it as just personality less.
See, and like I
think
said,
there's a difference.
Again, I might be projecting onto her the expected emotion, but I felt like there was disgust in the beginning when she had to go into the room with Archer and Trip and hear about how the Vulcan star charts were wrong. And there was disgust about having to get close to him in the blanket. And then there was a genuine conflict internally when she found out that the Vulcans had, yes, indeed been lying.
Yeah. I
That's
guess I'll give it to. I'll give it to you.
It's an inference because she's not conveying these emotions, but just
I understood what she was supposed to be doing.
Right.
I just felt like she didn't quite nail it.
Sure.
It felt like she was too understated. She was trying to be understated, and it came off as just vacuous.
Right. Yeah.
She wasn't being sort of judgy, confident. Judging and confident.
Right.
She was being more vapid, I guess.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing going on. I don't know. That's what kind of turned me off. And I think she gets better, obviously, as the show goes on.
Right. Well, I've heard it both ways. Is she that subtle that it can come across as she's just underplaying it? Or is she genuinely not have the ropes on it yet, and I'm expecting her to do more, so I'm seeing more there?
Well, and it's arguable that she as a character, to Paul, is uncomfortable as much as she would like to admit that she isn't.
Right.
Or like to not admit that she is. Those are two different things. But she is uncomfortable. She says, I've only been there for 9 weeks and 4 days, and I'm not in my best light. I'm not in my element.
Right.
And so I feel uncomfortable and I feel unconfident in my duties.
Right. Yeah, and I feel I personally am taking that to be, okay, this is better acting than I thought it was. And you're saying, no, she just doesn't have her character yet.
Okay, let's see what we're watching next.
No, Deep Space Nine, Family Business, Season 3, Episode 23. And the blurb says, an agent named Brunt from the Ferengi Commerce Authority serves Quark with a writ of accountability for improper supervision of a family member.
Oh, sounds riveting.
That's from
absolutely riveting.
That's from Netflix, and so yeah, I mean that's going to be in the cold open for sure.
Yeah,
and then the episode will
be
be about how Jake has to do some internal investigating
as to who stole his baseball or something.
Right?
Like that.
Yeah. Or it's a flashback of Gorn's life or something. Not Gorn, Morn.
Well, maybe Gorn.
Right.
I won't know.
Well, let's go watch it. Let's find out.
Okay. I've been Paul.
I've been Jonathan.
And this has been The Measure of an Episode.
But you already knew that.
Wait a minute. No.
What?
You have to say it as Cisco, dude.
Oh,
Come
that's
on.
right. That's sorry. For some reason, I wanted to fade away. I think because of the reverb. I was like, this will sound interesting. Sorry. All right. So, but you already knew that.